absolutely delighted to be joined by Courtney Sallis today. Courtney, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself before I dive into all of my questions?
Yes, no problem. So, my name is Courtney, and I have worked in tech now for, I would say, about 6 years. So I've been an EA for about 14 years, 15 years, but I have now found my happy place in tech and in the startup world, and that's where I've been working for about the last 6 years.
And can you tell us a little bit about the journey that's taken you to this point where you are working in a fast-paced tech startup?
Yeah, definitely. So, like most of us, I kind of fell into the PA EA world, and I was in much more corporate environments at the start of my career. So, I worked in tax, and I worked in lots of different corporate setups, and it always kind of, because I fell into the role, I didn't know much about it, and I always kind of felt like something was missing, and I was always wanting to move around because I'd be in my role for 2 years and I'd get itchy feet and I'd get bored, and I always wanted to move, and I never really understood why that was until I got my first role in tech, and it all kind of clicked for me then, and ever since then I've been in multiple different tech roles, and most recently in the startup tech world, and I've really found my happy place and what gives me energy, and it's been figuring that out as I go, really.
I think when you do work in a tech world, but when you particularly work in a startup world, the environment is is so fast paced, and there is so much uncertainty. You
Mhm.
know, there's different rounds of funding, there's people coming and going. It's so fast paced. So I wonder if you can just share some of the skills that you found helpful for just navigating that kind of environment.
Yeah, definitely. And that was one of the things that I first loved about the role, to be honest, because what I realized is the structure and the um like the understanding that of your day is the thing that made me bored, and the thing that I loved about the tech world and the startup world is the chaos, because our role is, in any environment, organizing that and streamlining that, and that's just leveled up even more into this type of environment. So it is mixed with uncertainty, and I do say that you're either made for it or you're not in our role, because typically EAs love structure, they love knowing what they're doing, they love to have systems in place so that they come in, they can do what they need to do, they make everyone else's life easier, and then they can go home. So it isn't for everyone, but it the chaos and the energy and the also the growth that you get from it is what I really loved, because there is, like you said, there is uncertainty. You're all figuring it out. I joined Tem at I was employee 16, so we had no real process in place. We had no systems in place. The founders had never had an EA before. Like, there was all these levels of complexity and of things to figure out. But that's what I absolutely loved, because you're thrown in the deep end, and you really have to figure it out and put your organizational skills to a whole new level.
I remember interviewing an assistant a few years ago that was working for a tech startup, and I was trying to get her to explain how she goes about kind of organizing the chaos.
Mm.
And she said, well, it's really difficult because you can set up a load of meetings. And you think, brilliant, I've got my meetings in place, I've got the agendas all set, I've got the papers all ready to go. And then somebody will come in and say, do you know what? We've completely changed how we're operating in the next couple of months. All of these meetings need to be cancelled and you need to reorganize another load. And she said, it almost gets to a point where I don't organize meetings to that degree until
Mhm.
I'm absolutely 100% sure they're happening. And sometimes that can be like an hour before the meeting's taking place.
Yeah.
And I remember on the chat, someone said, well, that's ridiculous. Like, how can you live like that? And I
Mhm.
thought it's such an interesting point, because most of us cannot,
Mm.
particularly as you said, we're assistants who love to kind of put all of the plans in place, make everything look really, or have everything really organized, and
Yeah.
would kind of be distraught if all of our best actions were therefore, just then completely erased. So it
Yeah.
must be tough.
Yeah. You have to be completely happy with throwing everything out of the window and starting again, like in any part of what you're doing. And in that scenario, what I've learned is that sometimes what you think needs to happen, or what the founder team or the leadership team say need to happen, isn't actually what needs to happen. And sometimes taking a step back and thinking, okay, what are they actually trying to do here? What is the end goal? What are we trying to do? And being confident enough in your skills to be like, okay, you've said you need 5 meetings across the next 3 weeks for this, or you've said you need these documents, but I actually think you need A, B, and C. So I'm going to do that. And you have to trust that you know what you're saying and what you're doing, because you are the expert in 16 people. You are the expert in this whole area. So they rely on you, and you have to be confident in saying, no, actually, I think we need A, B, and C. And I'm going to do that, and just go for it and figure it out as you go.
That leads me really nicely to my next question, because I know we've spoke about it before, and it's something that you talk about a lot on LinkedIn, and it is that shifting your mindset to moving into that thing we like to call strategic business partnership. And I think that's such a wonderful example of that. So before we talk a little bit about that, I just wonder, again, along through your experience and through your career, how you've built up the confidence to be able to say to an executive, actually, I don't think that's what we need. I think this is what we need.
Yeah, I think that it's definitely time in the roles. Obviously, of course it is, because that the more you do something, the more you understand. And then for me, the real switch happened in going from a tech role to a tech startup role, because you really are that person. Nobody there knows what they're doing. No one does. We're all just winging it and figuring it out. So I was then the person who was the most organized, had the most experience in keeping founders and leadership teams days running well and giving them what they need. So I had to trust in myself, and you're all figuring it out together. Ultimately, that's another thing that I love about this space, is that you're all figuring it out. So of course you make mistakes. Everyone is making mistakes, but if you're willing to just get stuck in and give your opinion, and knowing that it might not be the wrong one, sorry, or there could be something down the line that you think, actually we should have done this, or actually we should have done that. Everyone is in that same boat. So as long as you are getting stuck in and you're figuring it out as you go, that is all that you can do. And I think doing that more and more builds your confidence. And I'm very lucky that my founder from day one has pushed me to do that. So he's like, there's been multiple things that I've looked after in my role here that I have absolutely no idea how to do. But he was like, you'll figure it out, and you have us all here if you need us, ask questions, but you'll figure it out. Like, and it's not until somebody, I think, tells you that you're like, oh, they think I'm going to do it, so I think I'm going to do it. And as soon as you've done one thing that you've had to just figure out, it gives you the confidence, I think, to do more and more.
I think as well, when you're working in a startup, particularly when you are such a low number in terms of the number of employees that are coming into the business, you have a sense that you kind of have an ownership of the company, don't you? And you're making the decisions based on the best intentions that you want the organization to do well. I think that's so unique for a startup environment, that people are coming in and there's not a huge amount of people. And as you said, you're all figuring it out together.
Yeah.
So you're having a real sense of ownership of the strategic direction of the business, wanting it to do well. And sometimes I so wish that larger organizations kind of cultivated that feeling as well, because it can be so hard for assistants going into large organizations where they feel like they're a bit of a cog in the machine, that what they're doing doesn't necessarily contribute to anything. It would be amazing if we could all feel that same sense of achievement as a team that is sometimes missing, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And sometimes I think it takes, in that, if I think back to when I was in a larger cog, if I could have just told myself that if you went and suggested this one thing, or you was asked to do A, and you thought, instead of thinking in my head, oh, actually, I don't think we should do that, and just doing what they have told you to do, if I had the confidence to just go, I think that we should do this, are you willing to give that a try? Like, that would, I think, it opens their eyes to the fact that you're not just an EA, as we're all trying to avoid. Like, you can really start to prove yourself and show yourself that you have ideas, you have thoughts, you are the expert, and they should rely on you more rather than needing to give you start to finish details of what you need to do. I think sometimes in those bigger environments, you just need to show that leader that you have the knowledge and you're willing to try and you've got ideas, and then they're way more open to it.
I couldn't agree more. Well, you're really making the tech kind of industry and the startup world sound really appealing. So, for those of you who are for those assistants who are listening to you and are thinking, okay, I'm going to make the move, what advice would you give them? And then could you also just pinpoint some skills that you think are particularly relevant and would be helpful for them to develop?
Yeah, definitely. I think that for me, it's the thinking on your feet and the getting stuck in. Like, they're the main two things. When we just recently hired for a second EA to join us. And when I was hiring, the people could have all the experience in the world, but if they're very stuck in their ways, they're not comfortable with change, they can't think on their feet, and they don't want to just get stuck in. They was my main things that I was looking for, because it doesn't matter how much experience you have. And we ended up hiring someone who had way less experience, because I just had a gut feeling that they was the person for the startup life. They was gritty. They didn't need loads of structure. They wanted to get stuck in. They wanted to learn fast. And they was the other key skill, I think, is the prioritizing side of it. So in the startup world, you have to be comfortable that your to-do list is never ending. Like, it, and every day you think you're coming in with your priorities and they're completely different, and you have to be comfortable with that, and you have to be really good at being able to prioritize, because every day is going to be so different. So they're the things that I think that all EAs have aspects of that, right? And it's just about being able to go into that even more and be just really comfortable with the chaos and the growth. I think that when I think back to all of my roles this last 18 months, I've learned more than all of them put together, and that is purely from the environment that you're in. And like I said, I think it's either you love it or you are absolutely horrified by it as an EA.
And what kind of, could you give us an insight into some of the things that you are doing on your day to day and what you're learning? Before we hit record there, you were just saying that there's, like, at this point in time, there's a lot going on. So just give us a flavour of some of the work that you're actually doing and getting involved in.
Yeah. So when I started, I was looking after two of our founders. So I was doing way more typical EA things to begin with, and that is what they hired me for. Neither of them had EAs before, so again, they had
Which
no
is the whole
real,
thing in and of itself, right?
yeah, they had no real clue what they needed. They just knew they needed help, which I found really exciting, because that means I knew I could do all of the calendar management, the diary management, the meeting stuff. Like, I knew that I could instantly do that and make their life easier. But what we realized is there is so many other gaps that we don't have anybody for right now. And there's so many things that all of our founders in a startup they're doers, because obviously we are 46 people now, so we have grown quite rapidly, but they're still hands on the ground doing. Everyone is doing, which is not typical for all leaders. Like, leaders are usually leading big teams or driving the strategy. Like, they are doing that whilst also hands-on doing what they need to do, whether that's in product or commercial or whatever it is. Everyone is still doing, which means there's loads of things on their plate that get pushed to the side because they haven't got time for. So the perfect example is last year we had our Series A fundraising round, and I had never been in a fundraising round before. And it's the biggest one that they had done, because seeds and pre-seeds are typically way smaller. And I basically could see that there is no way that Joe was going to be able to do all his day job and manage this whole process. And that was the first time he said to me, like, you're going to figure it out. So if you need me, I'm here. And I ended up running the whole Series A process from start to end. And I had no idea what I was doing. and I felt really proud of that at the end, because I was like, oh, I had no idea how to do that, and I did it. So that was really exciting. And there's things, there's projects. So our CEO looks after our product team, and he looks after our marketing team, and there's projects that he would typically need to run or support in those areas, but I now run and support them, and I just feed them back into Joe if I actually need some of his knowledge or his actions. I pull him in then, but otherwise he knows that I will pull him in when he needs to be pulled in, but otherwise he doesn't need to think about it. So there's things like that that give him so much time and space back, and also push me outside of the typical things that we would do day to day, which is very hard to juggle. I'm not going to lie. I said to him only a couple of weeks ago that I'm now at a point where one side of my role suffers, whether that's the typical EA side or the more strategic side. If I'm doing one really well, I'm doing the other less well. And it's kind of figuring out when I need to do what side better. So like, does Joe need me to be EA hot right now, or does he need me to be on the projects and the strategic side hot right now? And it's just forever balancing that at the minute.
I was going to say, because it's balancing the day to day with the big ticket, valuable, rewarding stuff. And I would imagine, if you're anything like me, this rewarding stuff, the big ticket stuff, is probably where you're like getting most of your energy. It's challenging, and having to kind of go back and go, right, okay, the day to day, I need to get the calendar right. If they're traveling, I need to do that. And it can sometimes feel like a bit of a drag. So I'm so pleased that you brought that up, because I know there were certain times in my EA career. In fact, an executive said to me once, you're not doing the basics because you're so focused on the big picture stuff. And I feel like you're not supporting me as much as I need. And it was such a wake up call for me, because I was like, you're right, actually. I do have to hold my hands up to it. This is all the shiny stuff. And it's fun, but I still need to remember to, get my exec from A to B.
Exactly. And the thing is that the EA side of the role is what affects them visibly the most each week, right? Because if Joe, his calendar, if he opens it and it's not there, whether that's a task, whether that's one of his priorities, that we use his calendar as everything, the only place he needs to check. If there's an urgent task, if there's an urgent thread he needs to reply to, everything we build out there. If that suffers, or I haven't put travel time in, or I've forgot what, that really affects him. So he visibly sees that. Whereas the other stuff does affect him, because I'm owning these things for him, but it doesn't affect how his day runs. So it is a really fine line. And I had a similar conversation with him, and it is a really fine line of juggling what needs to be priority now. We have in our weekly stand-up is when we talk about that, and I'm like, this week I have these 3 things that I need to do. Is that more like, is that a bigger priority than your week or whatever else might be hanging over here? And we just talk about it, because when I was trying to figure it out alone, it's impossible, right? And then they don't know that they don't know what they don't know. So if they don't know you're spending 3 days and you're juggling these 5 projects or these 5 threads, how are they going to be understanding of the fact that they might not have a document they need, or they might not have a travel time, or whatever it might be? So we just talk a lot about that now.
And I know you're such a big advocate for introducing different technology and to help you prioritize stuff. So how much of technology is doing the heavy lifting for you? Because it sounds like you are incredibly busy. So I'm just curious as to how much support you need from your tech stack.
Yeah, I think that it's getting more and more, and I have committed. We have this thing called personal quests, where we set up a few. They're basically like personal goals that feed back into our big overall quests, and I've committed to getting the inbox, getting Joe's inbox and calendar fully innovated. So I've committed to that for my next quarter, and I really want that to happen, because we all know that those things are so important, but they do suck your time without even being able to explain it. Sometimes you're like, I've just spent all day fiddling, like calendar juggling, replying to emails. Like these are not the things that Joe needs me to be doing, but they have to be done. So I have committed to have those fully handed over in the next quarter, but I still heavily rely on tech to get me by day to day. And one of the big things that I've recently spoke about a lot is my profile that I have on ChatGPT. So I have set up I call it Jai, so it's Joe AI, and it's basically a whole profile that I've built to be Joe. And Joe is fully supportive of this. A lot of people were worried on LinkedIn, like, oh, hey, like that's scary, and I'm like, no, he's all for it. We're in energy tech, so the more tech we can use, like we are tech through and through. So he was very, very comfortable with it. But basically what that means is that I have a whole profile that helps me answer like Joe, think like Joe, question things like Joe, um, do like it can do whole write-ups where usually I would have to do like version 1, version 2, take it to Joe. Like it helps me, it takes all of that out now because I've built it with so much knowledge on Joe, on how he responds, on how he answers, on what questions he'll want, on what challenges he's going to give, and I use that daily. Like I if ChatGPT ever shut down, although
I don't know what I do with myself.
no, although I also use it for loads of other things, if it shut down, I would really be sad without Jai because it makes my life so much easier.
So let me just break that down. So what you've done, you've gone into ChatGPT and you have fed ChatGPT lots of information about Joe. I'm assuming his tone of voice, the way he likes things done, probably the email exchanges that you've had. So things where the AI can start to build a profile of who he is, his personality, his communication style, preferences, etc.
Yeah,
And then you use that as a basis then to ask ChatGPT questions, and it will spit out responses in his style. Is that,
yeah.
I'm
So
assuming, roughly?
yeah, you have a separate profile you can set up for it. So you can just use normal ChatGPT still, or I can open a Jai window, and even big responses, even anything about our company. So we have a very complex product that I've never been in energy before. I definitely didn't understand a single thing when I started. I would like to say I'm better now, but everything, all of its product knowledge, everything that I can about Tem and about Joe, I feed into it. So even videos Joe's done, or anything, any threads in Slack that he might reply to, I put in there. So the more information you can feed to it in the background, it then builds up such an understanding that yes, you can either ask, you can even ask for it to do. I recently used it for a big task that he needed to do to help with our accounts and with our engineering work, basically. And I saw that come in, and it usually I would have put that on straight onto his task to-do list because I don't have enough knowledge to do it myself. But I thought, oh, let me feed that into Jai and see where it gets me first. And I did that, and it actually got it 40, I would say probably 40% of the way there, and it created the whole outline, and Joe kept that outline and he just did the next 60%. So he didn't even have to start from zero, which is then saving him time.
Yeah.
And I feed the end result back into Jai so that it knows for next time how to get it further along.
It's amazing, isn't it? I mean, I know there are setbacks to AI and there's a lot of things to be concerned about, but in the initial stages for us, all of the things you've just described there are so valuable. So I would 100% say if for the assistants who are watching, this is such an interesting conversation to take away and go and have with your executive to see how
Mhm.
comfortable they are with this.
Yeah.
And even
And you
if it's
don't
just
have to
feeding
feed,
little things.
yeah, that's what I was going to say. I don't have to feed his birthday and his like any personal details about him because it doesn't care about that. Like I don't need it to tell me it's his birthday or his address or like anything else is all things that you could find out there anyway about Tem. Obviously, I'm not going to put our entire account spreadsheet in there or anything like that, but it doesn't need any of that. It just
No.
needs the common knowledge that someone could write up themselves if they listen to 10 hours of content from Joe. That's all you need to feed it. Yeah, it's amazing.
I'd love to just go back to, and I'm sure you're at the process of figuring out how you actually do that. But what's your thinking around automating the emails and the calendars? I know you said this is your goal for the next quarter, but where are you at with that? I know that people will be like, I need to pick you up on that, because that sounds like that would be incredibly helpful.
Yeah, so I do want to look into bigger workflows to completely manage it, but I haven't even started that yet. But what I do now is, I was very precious for a long time about using, so we use Google, and they have a whole, you can obviously use Calendly. There's loads of calendar links that you can use, but there is something built straight into Google that you can use from the email as well. And for a long time, I didn't want to use it because I was like, but this doesn't know what gaps I'm reserving. This doesn't know, like, if someone just goes in and books this, like, it could throw everything off. Like, and for a long time I was just like, no, that I'm not going to use that. But what I realized is the calendar takes up so much of your time. Like, if you're having a busy exec, it takes up so much of your time to flitting, to even changing little bits. Oh, I've got to think about this. This has come in. These people are asking me to squeeze something. I've got an email from so and so. Like, that will suck hours of your time. Whereas if you actually take a little bit longer to set up these calendar tools, and I use the calendar, like I said, to block all of his priorities and any threads he needs to respond to himself rather than me. If I take time in building those into the calendar and setting up my calendar link way better than just doing the link, because you can go in the background and do all the advanced setup. If I spent half an hour on doing that, and now I use that link and I'm comfortable with it, because I know that it can't take any gaps that I want, because I've already blocked it into the calendar, or I've already saved it. It can't do anything that I was worried about. So now I would say 90% of the time that link is used. People will only come to me if there is an urgent, if there is like an urgent external that we have to have in this week and there is no gaps. Obviously, there is no AI that's ever going to take that part of your role away, because you currently have to figure that out, right? You have to look and go, I need to make this gap. And that's where they can't do that. AI can't do that, but that is way less of your time than if it's than the rest of it. So if you can let it, the rest of it, use that link, and you are just coming for that 10%, that's saved you heaps of time. And I would say it probably took me a week or two to fully trust it and be comfortable with it. But I just told myself in the end, I was like, stop avoiding it. Like, stop trying to hold on to everything, because otherwise you're never going to have the time for the really impactful things. And there is a tool that can get you 80 or 90% of the way there. So use it. But I use it directly, but there is heaps of them.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I say it to assistants all the time. So for my example, it tends to be Calendarly. It's you're in control of that link. So all you're doing, you can send that link out to people and say, book the time in. But if you've got everything in exactly as you said, Courtney, if you've got everything in the calendar, that you're good to go, that you know if they put a time in, that's going to be fine. And it just saves what time are you available? Well, my boss is available at this time. Oh, well, actually, I can't do this time. It just is that you're getting rid of. And there is
of time zones, like all of that back and forth. By the time they've replied, one gap has already gone. Like, that whole journey is wasted time. It's dead time that you don't need to be spending.
You are doing nobody any favors by holding on to that. I can completely agree.
We all have to learn to let go a bit. Like, there's still things that I need to be like, I need to let go of. I'm like, one thing at a time, because we're like, I know I can do this. I'm the owner, I'm the protector. But you will not have time for the more strategic things or the more impactful things for your founder or your exec, unless you let go of some of those things and use the tools. They will never replace you fully, but they're going to help so much. They're going to help you level up.
So it sounds like, I think, as I've said, people who are watching this are going to be so impressed with everything that you're doing, and will want to step into the kind of space that you're in. But I just wonder if along the way you've had any of those kind of people coming to you and saying, "Is this what an EA should be doing?" Or getting that kind of misconception about around what the role is and what you are able to bring to it. So I just wonder if you've faced any of those challenges, and then if you have, how you've dealt with them.
Yeah, 100%. And I was very, very picky with my last role because I'd figured out on the journey that the type of person I wanted to work with, like that is ultimately going to completely shape your role. Because if you are supporting someone who wants to put you in a box and says, I only need you to do these things and that is that, then of course, like how are you ever going to come outside of that box? So I think you have to be really, really choosy with who you support. Like the company is obviously important as well, but the person that you're going to have a direct, or people that you're going to have direct relationships with, they are really going to be the ones that either open or close the doors for you. So I was very, very picky, and I'd spoke to a few people who are the understanding that EA should do these things and you are in this box and that's what you do, and that's fine. Like there are always going to be those people, and if you want to be in that role, then amazing. But if you are never going to change someone, and I've worked with people and tried my best to get them to see the other side, but that's wasted energy. I'm like, you want to work with someone who believes in you, trusts you, and wherever your role goes, it goes. And in my interview for this role, we had the same conversation. He was like, do you always want to be in AA? Like, what do you want to do? And I'm like, I don't know. We'll just see how. I love doing what I do, and we'll just see how I develop in this role, and where it goes. So I've come to the conclusion that I'm not going to battle those people anymore, because there's other people who do not think that way. And from the very start, all of the founders, there is 4 founders, they're completely open. As long as you are helping them and you're helping the business, they don't care where that is. They're like, you do it. There's gaps to be filled here, there, and everywhere. So as long as the core things are smooth and I'm getting the support I need, then help fill the gaps wherever you want, and I will help you. I'll help you get there or fill the knowledge. So I think that's really important, is finding the people who are going to let you do that, because they do exist.
Yeah. And then just in terms, I don't want to go into specifics for you, but I'm just wondering, when you are putting yourself out like that and you are doing all of that extra work and, really, as you said, mucking in terms of like how you're sort of not necessarily respected, but rewarded in the role, have you found that that goes in hand,
I
or is it
think
something that you've had to advocate for?
Yeah, I think it definitely goes hand in hand, right? If the person knows the benefit, understands the benefit, and like is fully supportive of you, of course that goes hand in hand. And Joe was like, I got a promotion about 11 months, I think it was, into my role, and he was like, I don't know what to call you now. I was like, he was like, I don't care either. He was like, all I know is that I couldn't do my job without you. You have done amazing and smashed everything that I thought you would. So you deserve a promotion. But he was like, I don't know what that means title wise, or what that means. And I don't think that that's important. Like,
Welcome to the club, Joe.
exactly. And I was like, I don't think that's important. As long as I'm always growing, I'm loving what I do, and you understand the benefit of what I do, and you are open to getting me involved everywhere, and we have that strong relationship. That's all I care about. So I do think that we need to advocate for ourselves as well. But again, if you're met with a wall, like there is only so much that you can do, right? There is only so much you can do to get through the wall. But a majority of people that I have supported have always been really open and really winning. But there has been a few that haven't, and you fighting that battle only sucks energy from you, right? Where it's just like that person is never gonna change. So it's finding the people who will really be on growth journey with you.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I've got one final question for you. It's something that I really like to ask, and I wonder what's the best career advice that you've been given, and then how has that shaped your approach to work?
I actually have a poster on my wall that says it now, because it says everything is figure outable. It's like this little mouse at the end. You probably can't see the sign, but that is what someone has said me long ago, and what I really, really believe is that you do not need to have the knowledge. You do not need to do a course and know the insides outs of everything. Like, all you need to do is be willing to figure it out and just get stuck in, ask for help, say when you have no idea, call on people who do have an idea, or might be able to give you one corner of the problem, and you can figure anything out. There is nothing that you can't do. It's just being willing to get stuck in and figure it out.
Oh, well, Courtney, you're such a wonderful voice in the assistant industry, and it's such a pleasure to talk to you today. As I said, with everything that you've spoke about, I think you absolutely live that ethos of everything's figure outable. And ever since I've known you've always been that way, encouraging people with different technology and showing people the way. So appreciate you.